All right. Welcome back to the STR podcast, otherwise known as the Start the Rebuild podcast. I'm your co-host, Tim Fournier, alongside Ian Mills.
What's going on, guys? It is a Friday. Friday. I would say before the NFL season, but the NFL season started last night, so it is not before, but it is before the first full weekend of NFL football.
Yeah, there we go. So this is episode 16, coming off of a very sad Ravens loss for me. But I am glad that football is back. It was exciting to watch the last play to Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
That was the most excited I've been for anything in a long time for like 2 seconds until I realized he was out of bounds. But here we are. Um, I guess kind of one thing that you said, you're visiting your parents, and my parents are visiting me in Charlotte. So that's kind of what's going on in our lives at this very exact moment.
Yeah.
Important to see your family.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like for the longest time I was sort of just like, it's like I didn't really I don't want to say see the importance of it, but I certainly didn't prioritize it in my life.
Mhm.
And then like there'd be like months or times where it like went too long. I wouldn't see him for too long, and then I was like, oh, this is the only thing I want to do now is see my family. So
Mhm.
definitely important. Like yesterday, I just made dinner for the family. Like I came home and like my uncle was in like the front yard talking to my mom, and I was like, oh, I haven't seen you in forever. And then like it was just nice. It was just nice to see everyone. Um, Cooked a mean steak for the fam.
Mm.
About that.
You
Uh,
grill it or what?
yeah, grill it. I'm a bit of a novice on the grill. More of a because college housing, you're cooking on on the stove. So, yeah, did that. That was fun. Watched the game with my dad, and it was fun. It definitely worthwhile experience. Your parents came in last night, correct?
Yep, got in last night. We went and just got something quick to eat, and then just chilled in my apartment and watched the game. Like I said, wish it went a little better, but you know, that's the way it is. But yeah, it's been a long time since I sat down with my parents and watched a football game, so that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was thinking the
But,
same thing. My dad and I were watching the game, and I was like, it's been a long time since I've watched a football game in this house.
yeah, right. And that used to be multiple times a week, every week.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, exactly. And it was like this was like a staple in my life. And then like I still watch football. He still watch. We also text each other and call each other, whatever.
Hmm.
But it was nice. It was nice to just hang out and wish the game hadn't gotten delayed because that is so late. Eastern time
It
zone,
was
man.
late. It was
Eastern time
late.
zone.
I was tired. I mean, I was locked into the game, but I could tell that I was tired. But
Yeah,
yeah, one thing I don't do the best job at is just like consistently reaching out and calling my parents,
yeah,
which I definitely just need to get more mindful of. Like my sister will call them every single day, and like I'll just forget all the time, even just like texting them and stuff. And it's not out of like spite or just like not wanting to do it. It's just that's something I have to work on to make that more of a priority for me, especially as our parents are getting older. And yeah, I think I mean, when I'm a parent, I hope my kids do that too.
yeah. Definitely. I kind of do the same thing. Where like my first year, freshman year of college, like I would do it multiple times a week, and then it was like sophomore year was once a week, and then junior year it was like okay whenever I could find the time. And yeah, I definitely need to do it more. And like my family is like a group chat, and now that we have like my sister has kids, we can like that kind of keeps the chat active because there
Yeah, there you
was,
go.
what I mean, like my niece's first day of classes was yesterday.
Hmm.
First day of school was yesterday, so it was like that was cool to see. And look, that'll keep the chat active, but it's like, yeah, I'm not having one-on-one with my dad or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even I need to get way better at that. I feel like that's just kind of like the nature. Um, I want to say the nature because I don't want to make an excuse. It is something. It's just like, yeah, yeah, it just kind of falls through the cracks, and it shouldn't.
Hmm. Right. Well, kind of moving to the next thing is I'm in grad school here. I'm applying to a bunch of jobs and stuff like that. Um, One thing we kind of talked about last time, like honestly, even like when the show ended, was, you know, that kind of idea of finding like your career and your job, but also finding time to maybe like build something for yourself and like
Yeah.
create something for yourself. And that's something I've been thinking a lot about. Honestly, like I'm going to grad school right now for my master's in real estate, but I'm also gonna hopefully be getting my MBA at the same time. So it's like with an MBA that's more generalized and I can, you know, hopefully have more like general opportunities as well as if I end up not wanting to go specifically into real estate because I'm still kind of figuring out what I want to do.
Yep.
And definitely happens a lot more to me around this time every year. I get like really into football and sports and it makes me want to work in sports again. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that kind of overall idea of should you be picking a career that is like a super big interest in terms of like sports and things like that? Or should you just kind of like pick a career that works best for you that you can tolerate and make money on, and then just make sure to, have time to, create or just be, interested in something else?
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah.
that question made sense.
Yeah. No, it definitely makes sense. I mean, I think as you know, I work in local sports. I cover high school sports and whatnot. And I love it. And I do really do enjoy it. So part of me is always like, oh, I'm gonna work into this in this field until the day I die. This is gonna be the number one thing I do, number one thing I do. And but then there's another part of me, it's like, it's a lot of work, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's just working in sports in general. The thing that sucks about working in sports is people know that everyone wants to work in sports. So you sort of get taken advantage of a little bit. You don't get paid very well. The hours are obviously horrible just because every game is at night. So there's part of me that's like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I'm going to make it possible. I'm going to do everything in my capability to make it possible that this is what I'm going to do or something around this field. But I also see people leave and have way happier lives because they just have more free time. They get paid more money. They see their families more often. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like, I think it depends. Like I think, it's always like we want to jump onto this passion, but there is something to be said about turning your hobbies into a job, essentially,
Mhm.
can kind of create a negative association with that hobby, with something you love. Like working in sports, I love sports, but it's made me care less, I think, about sports in general. I should say, let me rephrase that. It's made me care less about like national sports, national brands and sports in general. I
Mhm.
still watch the NFL every week, but working this job, I care a little bit less about the NBA than I used to. I care a little bit less about the NHL than I used to. And
Mhm.
I think it's just because you have less time because when your entire job is watching sports, coming home and watching more sports is sometimes just like, I want a break. So
Mhm.
I understand both sides of it. And for me, it's like, yeah, as long as you're doing something you love, like my passion honestly is more to writing and editing than it is to sports, but I still do obviously love sports. So it's like I could see myself in a world just writing and editing outside of this field. Um, so it's weird. I could see it either way. But to go off to what you're saying about kind of doing something for yourself on top of, you know, uh, uh yeah, basically doing some. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm like very congested right now. And my head is moving like a mile or a foot a minute. That's slow. It's slow. Point is so um doing something for yourself while you're pursuing something for your future is important, as you just said. Like, I'm starting a new job in a couple days, and I've sort of had this conversation with myself and with a couple friends. Is like when I was working in Binghamton, a lot of what I did was for the station. I would work extra hours for the station. I would work. so much to build these brands, to build these documentaries, to build these shows, to build these features, to build these stories. And it went great. And I loved it. And it made the station, I'm sure, a lot of money. And now I'm looking at this new job and I'm like, I was like, what if I just devoted that time, that extra time,
Mm-hmm.
to something individual in my own life?
Right.
Uh, because I'd still be building something, I'd still be doing something I love, but I'm building it for myself, my own brand, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I've been going really back and forth with in my head. And honestly, I think it comes down to something even broader. Like, would you rather be like an expert, elite tier, amazing at one thing, or be like well-rounded and very good at a lot of different things? And obviously that's only two areas. But like, would you rather spend that extra time, that finite amount of time you had, like completely devoting that same amount of time to your new job and like growing as fast as you can in there, or putting in like the required amount of time doing still very good work, but also using a little bit of that extra time to build something for yourself? And that's something I've been just like debating in my head, like, what do I want? And that's very individualized. And I think at different points in life, you want different things. But I'm very caught up in that in my own head right now. And again, as I'm looking for jobs, it's like, should I be looking at purely real estate jobs while I'm in grad school? Should I maybe try to work part-time in sports a little bit and then kind of like being able to do both and see like what opportunities come about? Or is there some perfect marriage of the two? Um, I actually reached out to this Michigan professor that someone told me about that he like specializes in sports real estate. Um, which something along the lines of building stadiums and all the like tax laws and stuff that come around with that and like buildings around stadiums and stuff like that. Or if teams want to relocate, it's part of the like thing that they have to figure out. Um, which is cool. Like maybe that's the perfect marriage of the two, and that's what I should devote my life to and be singularly focused. Or maybe I should work a normal real estate analyst job and with my extra time keep making content because I like it, and that would scratch the itch. I don't know. I don't know. And
Yeah.
I always end up back at this conversation, but it's like if I work in sports, is it just all going to be work and I don't have that passion? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think it's always like trying everything is like you said, like trying to find a job in sports while you're working and everything. Like, I don't think that's something that would burn you out. Like, that's not going to burn your passion. Like, hey, getting a part-time job to help out in sports or whatever it might be. Like, I
Mhm.
think that would only, I guess it would answer some questions I would feel. I guess it depends on the job, what the job is, but like you said, I think you said it last time with like the whole Wisconsin equipment manager position. It was like you loved it, you liked it, but like you were excited for it to be done.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And like there's parts of me that have felt that way about my own job too. It's like I love this, I love this covering football, I love covering, and then the moment football's over, I'm like, okay, thank goodness. You know what I mean? Because it's like less
Yeah.
to do. You have more free time, and so it's kind of like trying to figure out if is that am I reacting that way because I'm getting more free time, or am I reacting that way because, as we said, turning your hobbies or passions into a job can sometimes eliminate some of that passion. So I think it's kind of figure that out and working a part-time job or finding some way to whittle your way in some capacity and just figure that out. I think certainly would be worthwhile. Um, but
Yeah. I have a friend at Wisconsin who is now a like I don't even know how to describe it. He works for Fanatics and
mhm,
they acquired PointsBet and he's now like a like sports betting analyst,
interesting.
which I didn't even realize that was like a career path. Um, but like he said sometimes his job is like watching games and like moving lines and stuff like that, which is interesting. Um, so I just like looked into if there's anything around like the Charlotte area, and there's like Fanatics, like uh like retail lead where they play for the Panthers and they play soccer games there. There's like you could work and be a manager in retail there, but I would probably have to work home games, then that like gets messy with like holidays. And it's
Right.
like obviously that would be a job just to get my foot in the door and trying to like move into something different. But like, is that worth it? I don't know. It's tough.
It is tough. I think that there's no.
Or do I just look for like a general like a real estate entry level analyst role that is probably not like the coolest, most interesting thing, and just kind of keep building content on the side? I don't know. Like it's an impossible answer, and I guess I just have to try stuff and see what I like
Yeah, I mean, it was like
and
what
be
we talked.
ready to move.
I think that's the move is just trying everything. It's like what we said last week with like you have in life, like in certain stages of life, like what you said, like when you're leaving high school, going to college, you have like, a million schools you can choose from, and you probably whittle it down to like three. And then your life's going to be insanely different depending on
Hmm.
which one you choose. It's the same thing. It's like, it is scary to be like, oh crap, like I have to, uh, in our minds, it feels like you sort of have to like hammer yourself to one career right now. And it's like, okay, this is going to be me for the rest of my life. And it's like, the way I feel about, again, I'm starting a new job. I'm excited to start this new job, but like there is part of me that's like I'm excited to start it because it's going to tell me in some ways it'll tell me kind of what I really want to do, if that makes sense. Like I'm doing this job and it's like if I love it, it's like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. If I'm like, eh, yes or no, it's okay, then I know okay, it's time to do something new. So it's just like I think there is like this, we do kind of fear this way of like, okay, like I'm in real estate school. I'm gonna have to do real estate for the rest of my life. And it's like, even from this discussion we've established, like, no, that's not necessarily true. And I think that's just the way it is, the way we think. Like there's times where I have to step back from myself and realize, oh, I'm 23. It's like
Yeah, that's true.
we're in our early 20s. Like I'm even in 2 years. I'm still gonna be like young enough to not I'm gonna say start over. That's not what I mean, but like I could change career paths, into you know what I mean? Like it's like the way someone's described it to me was like our parents or our parents' parents, our grandparents or our parents likely worked one or two basically careers their entire lives, depending on possibly different jobs, but probably the same thing their entire life. They're like our generation's gonna work like four or five careers, different careers. You know what I mean? Just because like of the specialization and how rapidly everything's changing. So it's sort of like you have to be you have to make yourself well-rounded. Well, like we were talking about earlier, make yourself well-rounded, but at the same time, you sort of do have to be specialized in one special interest, just because that's how competitive everything is now. So
Hmm.
it's like for me, it's like you know what I'm gonna give what I'm doing right now a ride. I'm gonna give that a ride, and then make a decision when I have the option to.
Hmm.
If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's tough, man. But you make a good point that like we're just 23. But at the same time, I think a lot of people say that and it like gives them uh like relief. But like that still means you have to go out and try things,
For sure.
which is what I'm struggling with right now is kind of like paralysis by analysis. Um, but I still need to go out and I have time to figure it out, but I need to still go out of my way to figure it the heck out.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just keep applying stuff and see what hits. And then yeah, man. I mean, I think it's important for me to keep regardless building and creating content for myself. Um, I think it like creates a level of independence for myself where, if it were to become successful someday, like, then that job doesn't have like stranglehold on my life, like I could feel more confident like switching in and out of other jobs. But yeah, I think uh you can let me know how much you want to like get into this, but one thing with working in sports, I want to ask you about too. I know you have experience, um, and you might experience this with your next job, is having to work like on holidays and stuff, I think is the worst part. It's like
Yeah,
you
no,
look forward every year to Thanksgiving and Christmas as a time to like see your family, do something like fun and eat good food, and it's like a break from regular life. And it's like such a nice reset. But when you work in sports, you don't really get that a lot.
yeah, no, you're exactly right. It does stink. And it's sort of like you have to make your own holiday, if that makes sense. Like if you have to work Thanksgiving, it's like, okay, Friday's gonna be my Thanksgiving. But then like you know, who are you gonna who are you gonna have it with, right? Like
Right.
going had yours yesterday. So yeah, it's kind of making your own. I don't want to say making your own holiday because you're not, but like enjoying enjoying like time you spend with your family as if it's a holiday, even if it's not a holiday.
Hmm.
Like almost like I think, you know, I'm visiting my parents now, but like for the longest time I didn't see them that often. So every time I did see them, I sort of would treat it as if it was like a holiday and like, try to appreciate everyone and see everyone and my family's huge, so like trying to see everyone's kind of impossible, but yeah, like trying to get involved with as many people as possible. But to go back to the original point, is like, yeah, working in sports does suck for the fact that you do not see uh everybody on like Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter, especially. Like it's just, especially with the NFL now, like they want everybody to play on Thanksgiving. They want everybody to play on Christmas. So
Yeah.
no, that's not going to help. So it's I wish like the sports calendar respected holidays a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like I wish,
Yeah.
like last year the state semifinals for high school football in New York State were the day after Thanksgiving.
Hmm.
Uh, I remember I drove from Rochester to Binghamton, back to Binghamton, from Binghamton to Syracuse, which is, I should have just driven from Rochester to Syracuse, whatever, to cover two high school football games on like Saturday morning. And they were great games, but I was like the entire weekend, all I could think about was that. Or excuse me,
Hmm.
the entire Thanksgiving, day off
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
All I could think about was that. Like I was writing articles on Thanksgiving Day about my predictions for those games. So it's I understand why we do it. You know, people love sports, but like from my perspective, it's like, yeah, you know what? I wish I had Thanksgiving off, or I wish I had
Right.
Christmas off, or whatever. But
Yeah. That's definitely the tough part about it. And, we'll see where all this takes us. But what are your goals for next week?
next week, well, I am moving. I think I said that last. Yeah, I definitely said that. I've been starting a new job, definitely moving. So I guess for the move to go smoothly,
Do you have a
and
spot set up?
yeah, yeah, we talked a little bit about it off air, but yeah, I got a spot set up. I think it's mostly just like setting up. Because like I don't know how you've done it in the past, but like whenever I move to a new place, I just don't set up like a system in place to keep everything clean. And I
Mm.
think I'm gonna try to do that just to make my life easier.
Yeah.
So my goal for this week is just be be thorough in how I set up my new living situation.
Yeah, I think that's a great goal.
Like,
For me, I so I have two tests coming up. But the weekend before, I've had this trip planned for like a couple months before grad school even started, that I was going to drive to Nashville and meet up with my friends, a couple friends from Wisconsin, to go to Titans Packers in week 3. So that's in a couple weeks. But I like just got screwed with school and the syllabus, like boom, right away. I have two tests in two different classes. Like I'll get back on Monday, and then the tests are on Tuesday and Wednesday. Like they're the same week, and it's right after when I'm gone, which sucks.
it's tough.
But so I've kind of put a plan in place to get like as much studying as humanly possible I can done before that weekend. Um, so it's definitely going to be, so I'll have this week to study for it and the next week until I go to the game and then the Monday and Tuesday before the test. But like this week, I need to just like fully get way out ahead of it. So that's my biggest goal. And then the other goal is kind of what we were talking about in terms of, you know, in order to find out what you do, you need to just like put yourself out there and put yourself in positions that you might not actually like, but you got to go out and actually try. And
Yeah.
so I want to up my volume of applying to jobs that find interesting too. So that's where I'm at.
All right. A little quick episode for a Friday.
Yeah. I like, obviously it was quicker and, you know, in all honesty, we could like use our show doc a little bit better and,
Yeah.
plan out shows. But we had a busy week this week. You have to leave. My parents are in town. I'm glad that we got in and got it done. And I think we
Yeah.
still did talk about some valuable stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad we did this. I think yeah, that's the biggest thing is coming in and making utilizing our time here, you know.
Definitely. Definitely.
Um, but hey, we will see y'all next week for episode 7.
We literally just checked this.
No,
This is episode 16. So next week will be
episode 7.
17. Yes.
The Philip Rivers episode.
The Philip Rivers episode will be live. All right. Peace out, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Hit the like button, comment, subscribe. See you next week. Peace.